Hi there, welcome to a very focused video on the Noah Presgrove case to do with the theme of the highway. I want to share with you my thoughts on the matter and try and work things out between Kaden Pressy and then Tyler Hardy. Two individuals that arrived on scene for the very first time, but at different times. But what they've seen, what they've experienced, there's some crossovers and overlaps which could make you think, were they all there at the same time? That's what I want to try and get into today and break it down. We've heard Brooke Bounds-Carter and even Stevie Howard with Time calling out Kaden Pressy, saying his timeline, his recall of events, the timing of it is wrong. It happened at a different time. But what time would that be? It's not really been revealed or explained, which is unfortunate. With the exception maybe Stevie Howard mentioning 6:15 instead of 5:15. How true is that? Who knows? But let's just dial it back to each person's individual experience. Kaden Pressy, from what he said, notified at 5:15 by Jack Newton, left eventually the party house, arrived at the highway, the scene, at 5:20, was only there for 10 minutes, and then by 5:30 was ordered to leave. But who by? A truck driver. Kaden didn't know the identity or name of that truck driver, but they were wearing a high-vis jacket, I believe. But besides that truck driver, there was a second truck driver as well. It was like a pair of truck drivers, okay? There before Kaden got there. How long for? Who knows? There before Jack or after? Who knows? But we're focusing on Kaden only. So once Kaden was told to leave, from 5:30 up to 5:43. 5:43 being the next time slot where the next wave of truck drivers came on down, known as Tyler and Tyler Hardy. They didn't see anyone else parked there when they were passing by or parking up, so the first set of truck drivers must have been long gone by then, even though it's quite a tight window and time frame, right? So once they got there, they saw the body naked. So that changed compared to when Kaden saw it a bit earlier on. You see the time difference between it? You can leave your responses down below. It seems like maybe in between, body tampered with, shorts removed. Kaden saw before, Tyler Hardy saw after. But in their own individual experiences, seeing it firsthand, that's what they think remained as the true state. It wasn't adjusted, at least from Tyler Hardy's perspective. Kaden Pressy would have been the first one to then hear about the after photos or the after description doesn't match his, so something happened in between, right? That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Two individuals may have contrasting stories of what they saw, but both can be true if there was a factor in between both of those events which none of them saw, which altered the state, the characteristics of the environment, the person, the positioning, the clothing, okay? It's happened in the Kenny Veach case. Gone to the mine shaft, looks a certain way. Year later, another person goes there as well, but it's changed, it's damaged. Has it been sabotaged? What's gone on? It's because one person in between the period went themselves, another individual, and altered the environment, but it wasn't documented or it wasn't publicly announced. So there's a level of mystery. In this situation here, you got a bit of mystery, at least from the public perspective, because they've not been informed about the secret video or the photo of someone removing shorts of Noah's body, okay? So that is pretty straightforward, isn't it? But where does the whole timing situation come into play, and why is it such a big problem? You might ask yourself, why is it a problem when Kaden says, awakened, told at 5:15 of the news, 5:20 got down there, then 5:30 told to leave, and Tyler and Tyler Hardy got there 5:43 onwards. There's a time difference, two sets of people in the same place at different times. Why is it a big issue? Because one of the features of an overlapping example, what we saw on Facebook not long ago by Tyler Hardy himself, saying when he was there, he saw an individual in a high-vis jacket, but he couldn't identify them. And he also heard a person being told off to leave the area by that high-vis jacket. It just so happens that when Kaden was there earlier on, he was told to leave. You can see there's a bit of an overlap, right? It seems as if Tyler Hardy was there to witness Kaden Pressy being told to leave the scene. But Kaden Pressy himself said he couldn't identify and there was no sign of Tyler or Tyler Hardy present at that time earlier on. So why is there some weird crossover overlap then, right? If it was two separate events, you're telling me that when Kaden was there earlier, he was told by a truck driver to go back home, and that fast forward on, by the time Kaden's already gone, and the second set of truck drivers come on down, even though they're the first on scene as they claim or see fit, Tyler Hardy also says, oh no, there was another person there with a high-vis jacket on telling someone else to leave. Two sets, two pairs, double vision, or is it all of the same thing with that crossover factor? Because isn't it a bit of a coincidence that Kaden's told to leave by a truck driver? And then fast forward on when Tyler Hardy's there, first on scene in his mind, because no one else is there, he says, oh yeah, I saw some commotion going on, someone being told to leave. How's that possible? It's weird. And, you know, Kaden's been saying how that second pair were after. I came across a different pair of truck drivers. So the first pair of truck drivers who were there earlier didn't call police, but the second pair did. Now, in terms of the timing of it, with that, you know, that possible factor of an overlap of events crossing over with being told to leave, from Kaden being on the receiving end of it, to Tyler Hardy possibly being a witness to hearing it, or something similar, depending how you look at it. What other possible timings are they? Well, Stevie Howard mentioned around 6:15 when Kaden was supposedly told and went on down to the highway. By then, police would have been there, such as Jimmy Williams, etc., and onwards. Would that potential timeline favour the likes of Jack Newton in his position? On the basis, and I'm not saying that it's true, okay, just want to make that very clear, but on the basis that if it wasn't 5:15 and accidentally it was said like that, it was actually 6:15, or at least 6 in the morning onwards, it would probably actually support and help Jack, whether people like it or not. It would actually make Jack look more innocent in a way, right? Because obviously the earlier the timestamps, the longer people knew for, and the longer no action was taken in terms of reporting it into police. On that basis, that would be more suspicious, right? So, you know, when you pull it out of the hat, certain timestamps, you know, with Jack Newton saying to Justin Roy, Noah passed away 4 in the morning. That early on in the morning, from 4 in the morning, no calls made to the police. And if that's a true timestamp, and that highlights that Jack was there to see Noah's final breath, from 4 in the morning, it took up to 5:43. So what, like 1 hour 43? Let's just round it up roughly. It took like 2 hours for strangers to report Noah's body into the police. Individual that supposedly didn't know who Noah Presgrave was. And yet Jack knew supposedly 2 hours earlier, but did nothing. But he did inform people from the party house. Then you could say, well, instead of blaming Jack about it all, about not calling or being proactive, how come no one from the party house called the police? Well, if they're late to the party, no pun intended, and they're told after, they get there after. Whoever's there first, these additional party goers, kind of in the dark about it, may assume that calls have already been made. The example that I gave last night in my live stream was, when I'm crossing the lights, if people are already there waiting to cross, I'm going to assume that they've pressed the button for it to say wait, and then it goes green, and then we can walk across. But there's been times in the past where I've been stood there waiting long enough to think, the lights aren't changing, but people were already there before I got here. And then I look at the button, they didn't press it. Why is that? Because they're idiots. How does that translate within this Noah Presgrave case? The fact is, You might have people there earlier on who weren't as proactive, didn't take any action. And why wouldn't they? If they're a friend of Noah, you'd think they would take action as soon as possible. Now, Kaden, it's not been said that he called police, but if he got there and there was already people there, he might have been thinking, well, calls have already been made, right? So there was that. In terms of Tyler Hardy, you could argue and say Tyler Hardy has kind of contradicted himself, because how it was worded in the past over and over again that he was classifying himself as the first on scene. He was the first one there. Technically, it was like joint first place, Tyler and Tyler Hardy together, passing by, well, one pulling in, the other one having to turn back round. Tyler in the white semi-truck. Call it joint first place. And Tyler Hardy saying, we're first on scene. If you're first on scene, then why did Tyler in recent time talk about how there was another individual with a high-vis jacket on? Didn't call him Tyler, so there must have been at least 3 males, Tyler Hardy, and another unknown truck driver or guy in a high-vis jacket, telling someone to leave. To say a high-vis jacket, more likely a trucker than the LE or highway patrol possibly. Surely it would stand out more if it was a different uniform, and Tyler Hardy would know that with his experience and being in the area. So is that a contradiction there, saying you first on scene, but oh, by the way, there was another guy there in a high-vis jacket telling someone to leave? It's not exactly a contradiction, okay? If we're applying the same format that when Kaden in his own individual experience got there, truck drivers were already there. So in the situation with Tyler Hardy and Tyler, you could apply it the same way there in that individual experience. That they got there first in their mindset, let's just word it like that. And then what followed was somebody else coming around or pulling over. But if that was the case, we've not heard it from that point of view of another individual, a third guy, a third truck driver. I'm not saying that there is, but trying to make sense of what Tyler Hardy is getting at, right? Because if there was some kind of overlap crossover between what Kaden was on the receiving end of, being told off to leave, and Tyler Hardy not being the one telling Kaden to leave, but hearing someone being told to leave the area, and even though there might be 2 separate events, they do sound very similar. And what's the chances of it happening twice? Is it high? Is it likely, or not quite? Could it have all happened in the same place at the same time? Even though the timing, what was mentioned by Kaden Pressy, was at 5:20 to 5:30, and it was 5:43 onwards when the second wave of truckers, Tyler Hardy, got down there. If Kaden already left by 5:30, when Tyler Hardy arrived later and Tyler said, oh, I heard someone being told to leave the area, then it can't be Kaden Pressy, unless you add in from what Brooke, Bounds, Carter and Stevie Howard has stated by saying, oh, well, maybe Kaden Pressy got it wrong, the timing of 5:15, it was actually 6:15. But if it was 6:15, Tyler Hardy are there, Kaden Pressy gets there after, Jack's there, the police would be there as well, and I don't remember Kaden recounting any other people. All Kaden said, based off his individual experience, was, I got there, me, Jack, Isaac, Brylan, Mikey, 2 truck drivers, about 7 people or so. That was it. No mention of any other people, right? What's another possibility that it could have been another individual being told to leave at around, what time was it? Unfortunately, Tyler Hardy didn't give a time as to when he heard someone being ordered to leave the highway, unless it could it be Renee Millan? Kaden Pressy said Renee Millan stopped by at the scene for about 30 minutes. Anywhere within that period, she was told to leave and was ordered to move on. I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of the situation, because it seems kind of weird to think that you've got different individuals with slightly different stories who attended the same exact location but at different times but experienced the same thing. Kaden came across a pair of truck drivers. Then later, another pair of truck drivers arrived, and the first set already gone by then. Jack, on and off, there, then not, visited, then left, but was present possibly in both situations with the different sets of truckers. Interesting, very interesting. Based off what I've heard in recent time, it's like Kaden Pressy's story versus Tyler Hardy's all of a sudden. Could you say Jack is leaning on the side of Tyler Hardy, Brooke, Bounce Carter, and Stevie Howard? Like a 4-3-4-on-1 situation in terms of the consensus theme of maybe Kaden Pressy got it wrong. You think of that pressure where it builds onto Kaden Pressy. But this is the thing, Kaden Pressy did say in one of the interviews that with time, he might have made a few mistakes or can't remember everything because of recounting it so often and in the past, but his mother knows well. So if it has been noted down somewhere and it's been talked about in the past, and in the past when it was recited, it's a lot more accurate than the, let's just say, Partners in True Crime recalling of events. So then wouldn't it be worth looking at that then? But then, you know, the mother knew it all because Kaden told her at the time fresh and it's embedded in her. That's obviously a positive, but you can understand that the general public could complain, not me, but the general public could complain and say, it's good that Alicia Lee is speaking more facts or with more accuracy based off what she can remember of what Kane said in the past, but then it could be biased because it's not coming from the horse's mouth, it's coming from like a third party representative, and it's not exactly valid enough. You need to directly hear it from the individual. But if they have forgotten things with time, or there's a slight little slip up or mistake made, not intentionally, it can have long-term effects. And that's where I transfer over to the dark possibility that if by some reason that 5:15 timestamp was actually incorrect and it was actually later on, that would actually benefit Jack Newton of all people and in a way make him look more innocent. Okay? Would it make Kaden look suspicious? Well, obviously some people would react like that. For me, I'd be thinking, oh, maybe it was an unfortunate mistake. I'm not saying that it is a mistake, but in a scenario where timing was out, it's more than likely a mistake made and not done intentionally. Okay, some people may disagree and say it is done with intent, but you know, you can share your thoughts down below. So if it pushed everything forwards, right, it has a knock-on effect to everything else that happened. Just like the situation with Kaden going to sleep, how when it was first worded, he went to sleep 3 in the morning, and close to that, that's what he did. But in terms of how it was worded at the time, on his Facebook post, it seemed like he went to sleep for the very first time nearly 3 in the morning. But obviously with that interview, what we heard afterwards, he actually went to sleep 2 in the morning, woken up at 2:43 because of the phone call from the mother, and then drifted back off to sleep a second time round. If it was worded just like that, it would have made a bit more sense to me at least. But like bumping time forwards or bringing it back, it depends, right? One timestamp can impact everything ahead and even stuff beforehand. So like the shower situation, no exact timestamp time frame was given. Originally, it seemed to come across as if it happened Monday morning in a chain of events. ATV or side-by-side rollover, getting dirty, needing a wash, then wanting to sleep it off, but in one of the bedrooms with someone or without, and it not quite working out, and then it going from there. But then, based off like how Kaden worded it not that long ago in that, I think that 10-minute additional interview, which was added on footage from part 1, Kaden said he didn't see the shower, but he heard about Noah, you know, inquiring about having a shower, but that was earlier on. And if we're talking about 2 in the morning before that, that's kind of creeping back into Sunday night. If it's creeping back into Sunday night, then it must mean if Noah was suggesting a shower Sunday night, then before that, but on the same night of Sunday, would have been the side-by-side rollover. Because normally you'll have a shower when you need to clean up, wash yourself of dirt and sweat and all of that. But in order to get dirty in the first place, you've got to partake in an activity. So like, that side-by-side incident rolling over, then having a shower or thinking of having one. That's the order of how it would follow. And granted, maybe it has been said time and time again that the supposed ATV incident rollover occurred Sunday night, but for some reason I've just not seen that consistency enough. But then in recent time, with that interview by Kaden and saying about how he heard Noah wanted to shower earlier on, which implies Sunday night earlier on, because that overlap of timing and going into the next day, if it's earlier on, it pushes it back. Not back, it pushes it forwards, brings it closer. So ATV, side-by-side, Sunday, shower or considering having a shower, and then you got that long stretch of Monday morning, okay? So no guarantee, because I don't know the timing of it all, but if you got a side-by-side incident followed by a shower and that all occurs Sunday night, maybe crossing over to 1 in the morning of Monday, you got like 1 in the morning, or let's just say 0000 in the morning of Monday to 3:30. 3 hours and 30 minutes after the ATV side-by-side rollover. 3 hours, 30 minutes time difference of the shower, and then what happened in between that within that 3 hour, 30-minute period. And why 3:30 anyway? Because that's the supposed timestamp of when Noah actually left the party or attempted to leave. So if most of the events with Noah and the shower occurred Sunday night, then going into Monday morning, reaching up to the 3:30 timestamp of when he supposedly left, that's 3 hours and 30 minutes of doing what? You're not going to have an argument wanting to sleep in a room and that's going to last for 3 hours, 30 minutes. So what else happened then within that 3 hour, 30-minute period, okay? That's what I'm saying. You look at these timestamps, you look at these events, it could either push it back or bring it forwards, and then it has a knock-on effect with everything else, and then it opens up another gap, time frame, a time difference of this happening to when that happened. Originally, it may have seemed closer together when things happen, but then over time it's kind of spread apart because this actually happened earlier, that happened supposedly later. And what happens then? You got a big time window in between of nothingness. I don't even know if that's a word. So what happened in that period? Can it be filled in? Does that have the same impact with the highway situation then with Kaden Pressy? 5:15, 5:20, 5:30, 5:43, 5:53, 6:15, 6:18, 6:25. They're the timestamps what we've heard of, and it might ring a bell with some of them. It does follow an order, but are they evenly spaced out? Is there enough time in between each time frame and each time window in which people pass, come and go? I want to know your thoughts about that, okay? Because if you was to follow Brooke, Bounds, Carter, or more so Stevie Howard's mentality of Kaden got his time wrong about when he was present, does that mean to say he was actually there much earlier or there much later? If he was there much later, that's probably edging closer to when Tyler Hardy was there. And if Tyler Hardy is saying how he heard someone being told to leave and Kaden Pressy was on the receiving end of that or something similar, it could be the same thing if the times are a lot closer to one another than what we've heard of previously. So just take that into consideration. That's why I don't really do any, timelines or analysis like that, because it seems to be so switching and changing and there's so many timestamps, all that projects, the clutter, the confusion. It should only be done where there's a bit of confidence and a bit more certainty and of course consistency, and we don't exactly have the consistency in a way. You can still argue and say that the majority of people probably believe in Kaden over others within the case, fair enough, and that the minority are the ones questioning Kaden and some others along the way. But you got to look at it from all different perspectives. I sense I feel there could be a moment of awkwardness in the future if key individuals within the case saw this platform as a way to share their opinions, or more so their knowledge and truths. But if I was to cover it just to read, to analyse, to make sense of it, would it lead to a mutiny? Would it lead to other people out there on other platforms thinking I'm choosing sides then? That is where the problem comes in. It's not happened yet. But look at the Dylan Rounds case, how, yeah, I listened to what the family was saying, then I drifted away and listened to other areas. Then I drifted back into the middle and, moving about to try and get the full understanding and picture, even if it was from opposing sides. But if you allow that, which is the right thing to do, unfortunately, not everybody can comprehend that and will assume and think that you're picking sides or you're allowing the disease in. So up to now, yeah, you may have heard it to an extent from the family's point of view, the private investigator, the community members online. And yes, you got that dark wave or force, which people will highlight as that. So Brooke, Stevie Howard, Sarah Long, etc., them lot, Jack. But if I'm in the middle of it, am I seen as an enemy of everyone? Hopefully not. Okay? Just because I read a comment or I look into something, don't mean to say I'm going to fully agree with it. This is me speaking from the future in a way, because this is what could happen in the future. So it's just about spreading awareness as a heads up now, just in case people get the wrong understanding, and you know how that goes, right? And then people will call me out, have a go, all this and that, and it'll be unnecessary. But as I said, even when I try to explain, it's still not enough for some people out there. There's not much I can do about that, okay? But this video, specifically about the situation, the conflict as in drama, no, conflicting views of experiences of what they've encountered, and then the ones in between which may be picking a side or bashing the other opposition, things like that. I wanted to do just a video like this. I didn't have much time, but I will be doing another focused video later on, which is probably going to be another map analysis, but hopefully people see this in time and notified this video earlier on. The other one, live premiere, 9:30 p.m. UK time, so be on the lookout for that. Hopefully this video was reasonable. I know it's 27 minutes long, so it's still kind of long, but shorter than others. So there we go. Thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.